Well, 5 Rafale combat jets have finally reached India. Now, in this episode of Government Matters, what we're going to try and find out is why is the Rafale aircraft known to be such a fine fighter, such a potent fighter, and what does it do for India? What will it change as far as the reality on the ground is concerned? Snehesh Alex Philip, who, as you know, covers defense for ThePrint, is with us. Do start sending in your questions right away. Snehesh, so finally they've arrived.
Yes.
What time did they land? What has been the reception like?
Well, it landed a little post 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The 5 Rafales landed one after the another. The first one to land was one that was flown by the commanding officer of the 17th Squadron, which is based in Ambala, Group Captain Jaskirat Singh. It landed one after the other.
Right.
And then the 5 aircraft were given the traditional water salute. You know, water salute is a tradition in the in the aviation industry, be it military or civil.
Right.
Where any new plane, or if, for example, if the plane has achieved have reached a particular milestone, you know, they taxi between two water tankers, you know, which spray the water and it taxis underneath it.
Right.
So that has been done. There is no puja per se that is planned for these Rafale fighter jets. Remember that Defense Minister Rajnath Singh had conducted the Shastra Puja when he visited France in October last year.
Right.
And the pilots, a total of 12 pilots have undergone training in France, of which 7 have arrived. You know, with the aircraft, with the 5 aircraft. Why 7 is because 2 of the 5 are trainers. Trainers are twin-seaters, so a plane can carry 2 pilots.
Right.
So a total of 7 pilots have arrived. They will undergo a COVID-19 test as per protocol. And now the immediate aim of the Air Force is to operationalize the fighters as soon as possible.
Right.
Now this can be you know, traditionally, ideally, the fighters would take anywhere between 6 to 7 months at least for it to become fully operational. That is because, you know, remember that the fighters till now have been flying the Rafale from a training mindset.
Right, right.
So now they've finished the training. They have now moved. They will now be flying in India. So they need to
be trained
change
accordingly.
They need to change the mindset. You know, they need to get used to this to various kinds of operational tactics that are in play and would be changed because the Rafales are here. They will undergo flying over a number of locations. For example, right now there are multiple aircrafts that are carrying out combat air patrol in Ladakh, where there's a standoff happening with China. The reason why these aircraft are able to do the combat air patrol in Ladakh is because during peace times they used to undertake flying operations in Ladakh.
Right.
Now, flying over Delhi and flying over Ladakh, which is a mountainous terrain, is totally different. Exactly how flying over the sea is different. You know.
Right.
So these pilots, the Rafale fighter pilots, would undergo all these kind of training. But however, when the Air Force says that, you know, they are going to be operationalized soon, if tomorrow, let's assume you have to carry out and this is completely hypothetical. I'm just explaining what the Air Force means.
We're not doing any warmongering here at all.
So I'm just explaining what the Air Force means by getting it operationalized.
Right.
Is if tomorrow there needs to be a Balakot kind of a strike, you know, where, you know,
if we need to deploy the Rafale.
If we need to deploy, the Rafales can, because the Rafales already come, you know, for example, under the original plan, the missile system was supposed to be delivered to India starting October, while the Rafales are supposed to come in May. It couldn't come in May because of the Corona pandemic. There was lockdown everywhere. So the fighters would have arrived in May. They would have undergone the flying in India in various locations in normal circumstances. In October, the missiles would have started coming in, and the full delivery would have taken place. The Rafale would have been fitted with those missiles, and they would have been flown again. So it would take approximately, you know, at any point of time, it would have taken about 6 to 8 months.
Right.
However, now, because of this tensions with China, India had, you know, reached out to France and asked for faster delivery of missiles. So instead of October, the missiles, some of the missiles have already arrived in India.
Right.
These missiles were part were part of the tranche that was meant for the French Air Force. Now the French have diverted those missiles and have sent it to India. So the Rafale is already equipped to fire these missiles. One I'm talking about is the Meteor, which is an air-to-air beyond visual range missile. This has a range of about 150 kilometers and has a kill circle of 100% kill circle of about 120 kilometers. This is a game changer missile.
Right.
Now, one thing that the Rafale was lacking was the fact that it didn't have a range of air to ground missile with a range of about 60 to 70 kilometers. The original plan was to equip it with the Spice 2000 kit. But the integration would have taken time, would have had to procure more Spice kits. So hence India has gone in for the emergency procurement of the Hammer air-to-ground missiles which has a range of about 60 kilometers.
Right.
Now this Hammer has been bought to operationalize the Rafale faster than before.
Right. Actually, I've forgotten what my previous question was because I think you've answered a string of questions in just one. But just tell us a little more about the Rafale. Why is it so potent? And also, what are the other conflicts in which it has been inducted in the past?
Well, the Rafale is potent for a number of reasons. First, it's a 4.5 generation aircraft. It's why I'm saying 4.5 because the fifth generation fighter aircraft are known for their stealth technology.
Right.
So yes, Rafale doesn't have a stealth technology. India is already working on the AMCA, which is supposed to be a fifth generation aircraft. So it has been the work has been done by the DRDO and the ADE. Now, besides, of course, the sensors, the avionics in play, the other systems that are on board the Rafale, including the ESA radar, which is electronically radar, and besides the fact that the Rafale has a much more modern aircraft in terms of design. It has a range of about 3,700 kilometers. The weapon system is a real game changer. As I earlier mentioned, was the Meteor beyond visual range air-to-air missile. Now each Meteor cost about over 20 crores. Now these missiles are unmatched as far as this particular region is concerned, because there is no missile which has the capability to shoot down targets in air at 120 kilometers away.
So is it the most potent in South Asia?
It is the most potent in this Asia. Neither does China has anything to counter this, neither does Pakistan. If you remember in Balakot, I had done us earlier last year, of course, and earlier this year also, when the first year anniversary had come, I had mentioned that one of the things that was missing on the 27th, when the Pakistanis retaliated, was the India's lack of beyond visual range missiles. The Sukhois, were left the missiles on Sukhois, the R-73 and the 77 were left wanting in face of Pakistan's AMRAAM. AMRAAM is a beyond visual range missile which has a much larger operating area. So this particular missile, the Meteor, is going to be a game changer in the real sense.
Right.
The other missile that is on board, which India has bought, is the Scalp. Now each Scalp cost over rupees 40 crore. So that's how expensive these missiles are. Now Scalp has a range, it's an air-to-ground missile which has a range of 600 kilometers with high precision. So which means that India can hit a target which is 600 kilometers away,
right,
or let's say over 500 kilometers away, without any glitch, without even crossing the Indian airspace.
Right.
So that's a huge jump as far as India's capability is concerned.
Right.
Now, the other plus factor of the Rafale is the fact that, as I earlier mentioned, besides its durability, the design and everything, the Rafale is also designed to carry a nuclear payload. So and the biggest advantage of Rafale, if you look at traditionally at fighters, fighters are made in a way that they are tasked for a particular, be it air dominance for a bombing mission, or close combat, air dominance kind of a scenario. Rafale is an omni-role aircraft.
Right.
It means that the capacity to carry different kinds of weapons means that the Rafale can carry out multiple roles in single flight itself.
Right. Well, okay, let's start taking viewer questions, of which we have many actually. Tarun Khare, now that the Rafale has finally arrived, do you think there was really a scam involved in the price difference between UPA and NDA deals, or was it just a controversy made out of thin air by the opposition? Now, as many of our viewers would recall, Rafale had become a big buzzword ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha polls because the Congress, particularly then President Rahul Gandhi, took it up as a big issue, alleging corruption in the deal.
Well, if you're asking whether there was any scam, well, the Supreme Court has ruled out, so I would not have any other thing to add to what already the Supreme Court has said. But whereas the fact is that while many have alleged scam, there is no evidence which has really come out. So I would not be able to speculate or give or not give a clean chit to the Rafale deal.
Right. Kostab Sokar, what are the total number of combat aircraft that India need as of today to counter threat on both sides, and do we have those many, old and new, put together?
Well, see, traditionally, formerly the Indian Air Force has been tasked with 42 squadrons. What the Air Force needs is about 45 squadrons in case of a two-country war scenario per se.
A two-front war.
A two-front war. I forgot the word. It just didn't come to my mind. Yes, a two-front war. Right now, instead of 42, the Indian Air Force has about 30 squadrons of fighter aircraft. Now, and even among the 30 squadrons, remember that there are a large number of MiG-21 squadrons, which are supposed to have been phased out by now, but it's still been pulled along. The 30 squadrons also includes one Tejas squadron, which is yet to formally come up. Even the Sukhois, we have over 250 Sukhoi fighters. But however, when we look at numbers, and this is something that I've always stressed in the past, and I've explained in my stories also, is that yes, you have over 250 Sukhois, but the fact is that the availability ratio, or let's say the serviceability of these Sukhois are so poor. For example, the serviceability ratio stands about 57%, which means that at a given point of time, out of 100 aircraft, only 57 aircraft are available for operations.
Right.
The rest of them are due for servicing, are getting serviced, are under repairs. So when we even say 30 squadrons, you have to really realistically look at how capable these squadrons are
and how usable they are.
How usable they are. Also, in this case of Rafale, India has for the first time introduced a PBL, which is performance-based logistics agreement with France for a fighter aircraft. Now, under the PBL, which, if I'm not mistaken, was for about 300 million euros, a little over 300 million euros. Under the PBL, 75% of the Rafale aircraft have to be available at all times for operation. So serviceability, the ratio has to be maintained at 75%.
Right. Vishwanath Saxena, well, we have lots of questions. We'll try and take as many as possible. What is the status of Make in India fighter planes, and by when can India operate 42 squadrons?
Well, 42 squadrons. So, I'd done this. Again, I'll go back to my story that I'd done last year. Go through our website. This is one story that I've done, and which even I was shocked, because I had, I was explained to this by a source of mine, and he showed me certain figures and graphics and the whole combinations and permutations of the aircraft. So even by 2035, even if the two squadrons of Rafale, the 114, the aircraft deal for the 114 comes into fruition. The Tejas Mark 1A and the Tejas Mark 2 and the FGF is taken into account. Even by 2035, India would not be able to reach the squadron strength of 42 squadrons.
Right.
So that's how bad the situation is. Remember that while Rafale is coming here has landed in India, finally 5 of them have landed in India. The fact is that this was part of a process that was initiated way back in 2001.
Right.
At that time, the Indian Air Force wanted the Mirage 2000s more of the Mirage 2000s, and the French had offered to manufacture them in India because they were shutting down the Mirage factory. However, given the bureaucratic system that there is, the decision making took a lot of time. And in 2004, it was decided that we'll go in for a contest called the MMRC, the Medium Multi-Role Combat Aircraft thing. It was in 2004, and an RFP for it was issued only in 2007. And then finally the Rafale was shortlisted in 2012 because it was the lowest bidder.
Right.
The other aircraft who have cleared all technical parameters was the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now in 2012 was when the Rafale was shortlisted. Till 2014, the negotiations continued to remain stuck because of multiple reasons. Three main reasons is the fact is that one, the HAL had quoted about 2.5 hours the working time, which means that let's assume that a Rafale gets manufactured in X amount of time. HAL had said for the same thing to be done in India, it would cost 2.5 hours more, 2.5 times more working hours. So this meant that the cost of the Rafale would go up very high in comparison to what the French had quoted. The second was the fact that the French refused to take guarantee for the aircraft manufactured by the HAL under the Make in India process. So that was also an issue. The third issue was the fact that it was felt that the French had actually underquoted the bid in 2012 because, for example, something which I'm aware of and which I've mentioned in my story also is the fact that the Eurofighter Typhoon had, when it had given out the price, the bid, it had included the price of the weapon system also, which was not there in the Rafale bid. So there was a whole lot of complexities that the deal just couldn't go through under the UPA era. When the Modi government came in 2014, the deal was already stuck. It was in January 2015, much before Modi went to Paris, is that the Indian government reached out to the French government asking if there could be a government-to-government deal for a limited number of fighter aircraft, the Rafale fighter aircraft. This was primarily because the Indian Air Force had really sounded an alarm that the numbers are really down,
right,
and they need aircraft. And hence, it was in 2015 April that the deal was announced by Narendra Modi. It was only later in 2016 that the contract was finally signed.
Right. Well, we are really out of time, Snehesh, and as I said, we have a lot of questions, and I would like to give as many of our viewers the chance because they've taken the trouble of logging in and sending their questions. So we have to be a little quick. Saurabh Vishwas, why doesn't the IAF use specialized electronic warfare aircraft like Boeing's EA-18 Growler?
Okay, can we take some more questions along with it?
I'm clubbing the ones.
I'm
trying to club the ones that are similar. So this one
well,
is
the Air Force uses as I often joke, the Air Force is literally like a zoo when it comes to the different kinds of aircraft that it has in area. For example, the Rafale itself is the 7th type of fighter that would be in service with the Indian Air Force. There are multiple aircraft that are in there which are completely modern. There are aircraft which are used for reconnaissance, for surveillance, for a lot of other meters. So yes, there are a lot of modern aircraft in the Air Force's inventory.
There's a question from Hemant Mohan which is on why we need a new aircraft. You've already answered the benefits of the Rafale. There is a question from Mukesh Panikar about whether Pakistan's F-16 is superior to Rafale. Again, you've answered about why Rafale is the most potent in South Asia. Let's take this question from Rishabh. Wouldn't it be better to buy long-range missiles for Sukhois for this money? Again, I think you've told us.
I'll come to the technicality of it. Yeah.
Why don't you answer this? Because these are similar questions.
Well, it's not that you can buy a missile off the shelf and just put it and integrate it with any aircraft that is available. Integration is a very complex process. Not all missiles, different aircraft use different subsystems which are not married together with other subsystems. So it is very difficult. Now, there are certain limitations also. For example, in the case of Meteor, now the Indian Air Force, the Mirage 2000 is a French aircraft manufactured by Dassault Aviation, which manufactures the Rafale also.
Right.
Both are French aircraft. Now you have a Meteor missile which is there. The Meteor missile is fantastic. It has a range of 150 kilometers. Initially the Air Force had the idea to integrate it with the Mirage 2000. If you see, it's a very simple process. You know, you take a meteor, put it in the Mirage and fire it. However, this was not possible for multiple reasons. One of the reasons, of course, is the radar system, is the capability of the Mirage aircraft itself. So that cannot be integrated. So similarly, it's not possible to, for example, to pick up a Scalp and put it in the Sukhoi. So there are aircrafts needed. There are multiple, and that is why this is a technology that keeps getting updated over the years.
Right. C. Jairam, when will the rest of the Rafales arrive in India?
By 2022.
I'll take one last question. Okay, let's take this question from Vishal Yadav. Has the deal with Dassault diverted funds from the AMCA project?
No, that project, the AMCA project, is a separate project altogether. The funds for this particular project comes from the funds that were allocated for this. One question that I'll actually ask myself, for the audience to pick up, and nobody has asked this, is how does this, there's a whole lot of euphoria about this 5 aircraft. Now, the question that everybody should ask is, how does this 5 aircraft actually help in changing the dynamics? So if you ask me...
Yes, there's actually a question from Hardeep Singh Zala in terms of how it is going to be a game changer. So,
well, Hardeep Singh Zala, as far as 5 Rafale aircraft is concerned, let me tell you, if tomorrow, God forbid, there is a war in Ladakh, the 5 Rafales are not going to win you the war. Let's be absolutely clear about that. Now, the next question would be, are the 36 sufficient enough? Well, even the 36 Rafale are not sufficient enough to win a war all by the Air Force itself. Now, the 36 is also a far too less a number. There is also a talk in the corridors of power about another 36 being ordered from Rafale from Dassault Aviation once these 36 are delivered right now.
Right.
But at the same time, the Air Force is also pursuing a deal for the MMRCA-2 for 114 fighter aircraft. The RFP, a formal tender, is yet to be issued for this. It is expected that this would be issued later this year, hopefully, and there would be a contract. But I, for a sense, feel that India could go in for additional Rafale fighter aircrafts.
Right.
But what the Rafale does is that Rafale forces the enemy to change their air tactics, because every time they come they launch an aircraft, they would presume that India would be launching a Rafale. And as I said, Rafale has an unimagined, the Meteor is a real game changer, because the Indian Rafale can shoot down an enemy aircraft 150 kilometers away in enemy territory without even crossing the Indian airspace.
Well,
so it forces the enemy to change the air tactics.
Right. Well, this has been a long session of government matters, but thank you for being patient, for sending in your questions. I know we began a bit late, so we apologize for that. Do keep subscribing to our YouTube channel for much more, and log on to our website, ThePrint.in, to read all of Rafale related stories.